Let's get into the team selector. Alisson Becker in goal. Matt, I'll come to you for the back four. How are you lining them up?
Well, assuming nobody else is back, I think the back four is the back four. I don't think there's really too many opportunities to switch that around at the moment. I mean, we've spoken about Trent. I thought Robertson was excellent as well, actually, against Manchester United. We saw a little glimpse of the Andy Robertson that we saw last season, I thought, at times last night. So I think you've basically just got to say until Ozan Kabak is back or anybody else is back, essentially it's those four for the final 3 games, I think.
Have Liverpool, on that, Dave, have Liverpool got to be prepared for Ozan Kabak not to be back this season? Because Jurgen Klopp, before the Manchester United game, has said, without obviously referring to Kabak, that injuries at this stage of the season, with only sort of 10 days left now, can basically be season defining, even if they are only a small muscular problem. And of course, he didn't feature at Old Trafford. Don't expect him really to feature here. So then he's got kind of a week to make sure that he's fit for certainly the Palace game, and only a few days to be ready for Burnley.
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because, you know, Jurgen Klopp has spoke this season regularly, hasn't he, about the importance of rhythm and not chopping and changing his back line. He said that's been the crucial element that's undermined Liverpool, really, is having to make constant changes in defence. So you wonder whether, if he did get Kabak, you know, back available, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because he's got that little bit of extra international. You know, he's an international player. He's still young, but he's so experienced in terms of got a lot more games at the top level under his belt than Reece Williams. So I think he possibly would, if he was available, would possibly bring him in for the last couple of games. But we don't know where he's up to. Klopp hasn't really hinted about it. He's been keeping his cards close to his chest in terms of injuries recently. So it's tough to read. But I do think he will bring him back. But I don't expect him to be back from this one. There's no real suggestion that he will be. So if that's the case, I think that back four sort of picks itself, and you hope that Reece Williams and Nat Phillips can stand up to a slightly different test, because West Brom are going to just try and lump the ball in the box at every opportunity, aren't they? They're going to have to win a lot of headers, those two, and I think that maybe suits Phillips more than it does Williams. So it's a difficult test for both of them if we start again.
Yeah, Theo, unless you want to change the defence, what about the midfield for you?
I'm going to put Curtis Jones in. I think he's pretty much the only one who's available fit that you could put in, isn't he? Because Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita were missing last night. And then I'm just going to go back to my old argument that Wijnaldum's on his way out, so phase him out, look to the future, so Curtis Jones can take his place. But Liverpool don't really have many other options there at the moment. The fact that there were 2 keepers on the bench last night and there was Ben Woodburn on the bench last night shows how they are down to the bare bones. So Jones, Thiago and Fabinho in the midfield for me.
What about yourself, Matt, the midfield?
Yeah, Curtis Jones comes in for me as well. I was quite impressed with him when he came on last night, and I think there's just too many games at the moment not to make any changes. But I think it's going to be Thiago who sits out this one for me, just because I want to sort of keep him. I mean, he can come off the bench, but I want him for the last 2 games of the season. So I'm going to stick, obviously, with Fabinho. Wijnaldum can play as well, and Curtis Jones in there for me.
How's that sound to you, Dave?
Yeah, I think I maybe agree with Matt on that one, just because I think Thiago put in a lot of work in the last game, didn't he? I thought possibly that was his best game for Liverpool, actually, in terms of just thought both sides of the ball really, really impressive, and hopefully the start of something special for him at Liverpool. So maybe, thinking about that Burnley game coming up and the fact that fans will be back, you'll want his element of control in midfield and to really keep, limit their opportunities to lump the ball long. So I think you maybe, hold him back and with Jones having done so well off the bench at Old Trafford, maybe an opportunity for him to play. And I just can't see Wijnaldum ever being dropped. So it's I think he goes in there alongside Fabinho.
And I'll stay with you, Dave, for the attacking trio.
We probably got to get Sadio Mane back in there, haven't you? He's not a happy man being left out. So I did think before he went off, actually, I thought Jota seemed to tire a little bit. So maybe it's just a straight swap there, and you put Mane in for Jota and keep Firmino in because he's in form, and Salah's been in form for the entire season, hasn't he? So you can't drop him. So I think that maybe picks itself there. Yeah,
Firmino did score the last winner at the Hawthorns, Theo. So would you be inclined to keep him in the side as well?
I'm going for the tried and trusted front three. Jota out, Mane on the left. As I said before, there's not really many other options you can do at the moment. Whether you put in a Shaqiri or an Origi, but you're going for the Champions League. You want to have, whilst you're going to have to make changes because of the turnaround, you need to go as strong as you can to get the points on the board. And that's the change, isn't it? Mane will come in, having sat out against United. And after scoring a brace, you can't drop Firmino. You just can't drop Salah when he is in the form. He's going for the golden boot. If Liverpool get in the Champions League, he's going to be one scoring the goals to get them there.
Matt, what about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely in agreement. I think Sadio Mane will come in. I think the fact that he didn't play the other day suggests, or didn't start the other day suggests that he will do now. And I think it's going to be 3 of those 4 for each of these games. I think it's just an area of the pitch where Liverpool can have a little bit of rotation, a little bit of freshening up without really changing too many things. So yeah, for me, it's Jota who has to come off the bench, Mane, Firmino, and Salah.
Yeah. So what about result predictions then, guys? Dave, I'll come to you first up.
I think Liverpool are going to take great confidence that Manchester United win. So I'm going to, for the first time in a while, back them to actually win again and maybe say 2-0.
Yeah, I'll go along with 2-0. Matt, score?
Yeah, I think they're going to win. I'm going to go for 1-0. I think it's going to be incredibly nervy. I think they're going to miss chances, but I think Mohamed Salah is just about going to squeeze Liverpool through.
That injury time will be horrible, won't it, if it's 1-0 and Sam Allardyce's team just pumping the ball into the box.
Sam Johnston goes up for last-minute corners. United keeper trying to equalise.
Yeah, I just think it's inevitable. Liverpool have to win all 3 of their games, and at some point they're going to come under pressure. And I think you could make the case for all of the teams left, to be honest. I think there's narratives all over the place, isn't there? Burnley with fans back in the ground is going to be tough, but yeah, I think Sam Allardyce will do his best, certainly, to make it difficult.
And Theo, what about yourself for the score?
Let's go 2-1 Liverpool, just to be a bit different. Whilst they did play well against United, there were some dodgy defensive moments, shall we say. And West Brom, they can probably only get one, aren't they? Big long balls into the box. You're going to make a mistake at some point. But I think Liverpool now are showing a bit of ability, a bit of talent. You'd like to think that with the goals on the board from Salah and Firmino, there's that confidence there to add to it. So Liverpool should have enough 2-1.
Yeah, great. Well, I said we were going to talk about permutations. I realised we've gone a bit over time, so we won't be able to get into it. Or maybe if Liverpool do get the win at the Hawthorns, we'll dedicate Monday's Blood Red to trying to do some
better on Monday anyway. It's the day before Leicester Chelsea.
I was going to say they've got a dress rehearsal, haven't they, in the small form of the FA Cup final over the course of the weekend. But it is getting very, very close at the top end of the Premier League table in terms of the race for a top 4 finish. That's it from us on this edition of the Blood Red podcast. Do make sure to check out the link to the Blood Red newsletter in the description of the podcast. It takes only 30 seconds to sign up, and our best Blood Red content finding its way to you. But from myself, Guy Clark, Matt Addison, Theo Squires and David Lynch, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.